Okay, so the agenda for today. So good morning, good afternoon, everyone. As usual, this meeting will be recorded on YouTube, so please let us know if you want us to edit something out before we share. The agenda for today is a discussion on how to organize future analysis. I have it on the screen. Sarah and Lucas Riedelt agreed to lead this discussion, but what follows can be mostly unstructured, which we want to collect feedback. And so, Lucas, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Just is a so Sarah's still on the road. She joined us in a bit.
Oh, okay.
There was the change in time, but only for your time
Oh,
zone or something. So yeah.
oh, time zone change. Oh, I see.
Yeah. Okay. So I hope you can see the browser. I prepared some slides. Can you see those?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Just to give this a bit of a structure, and I think there are three things we can talk about today, which is one, how to organize the analysis and documentation of progress as we now enter this phase of analysis. There's some things that, yeah, this documentation should deliver, and then yeah, we can talk about this in the first part, and then the second is more on how to structure the analysis into work packages. So we'll be talking about what should be the work packages based on the review article, and Sarah drafted the structure there already. So she's going to talk about that, or we can talk about that in more detail. Yeah, and then the third thing is talking about which analyses are required for data release. So which would probably then be the first work package that we tackle here as a team. But first, starting with the how to organize. The way we organize, I thought about maybe this should satisfy two things, and one would be that it's compatible with both essentially top-down planning and bottom-up progress as well, because on the one hand, I mean, we outline what we want to do in the review article, but then some things might also just come up while doing the analysis or through the initiative of people joining the analysis. So it would be great if we had a way of organizing this that is open to both. And then these, however we structure this, the resources should be easily accessible. So we had thought about two things. One would be kind of a visual map of these analysis packages, and the other would be a spreadsheet. So I can quickly show you kind of very rough proposals how this could look like. And yeah, currently my idea would be to have this for each recording technique or modality separately. So here, for example, for SLAP 2, we might have kind of the analysis packages that Sarah also organized, and then we'll talk about in the next part. But yeah, those could be collected here. And then in addition, in gray here, I added some basic analysis that would be important for data release. And the way this would work is that we have in Solid work packages that people started working on already. And the way this could work is that here we just collect the most relevant data. That could be the resources like code, people working on this, and kind of a quick overview of what this is about. And then the cool thing with if we do this visually, this is with Google Slides here, we could kind of link these analyses and visually indicate dependencies, and then people can easily spot what resources they might be interested in using. And we can also relate this then with other, or cross-link these analyses if they have certain dependencies. And one advantage might be that from this, it's also easy to spot contributions from kind of which analysis depended on which other code or analysis. Yeah, this is one idea. Then the other idea would be to have a spreadsheet where we just simply connect these tasks, list the contributors, links to resources, and yeah, put in here brief descriptions. And yeah, here we can also list to-dos, for example. Yeah, I had problems, to be honest, with the sheets. It was very unflexible to add different types of links here. Also editing within a cell here, code cell, or within one of these blocks, it's kind of unflexible in terms of formatting. So, but yeah, it might be handy to just have a list of things essentially. And yeah, so analysis map throws us some that the dependencies of analysis steps are visible. It's easy to trace contributions. One can reference these analyses to each other via these links. It's a bit cumbersome to add these blocks and do the formatting and all these things. It's also overall the text is a bit harder to read. And yeah, what could we do? I mean, in principle, we just could have both and link those on the website or so. But the important question is, who should be able to edit? Can everyone just add the analysis, or do we have kind of more some person or a team in charge that organizes this? So who or how do we coordinate the analysis? Jerome, you sent around this this form, right? This could be a way to do this, and then this would be more kind of assigning people. And yeah, the question is also, do we have one map and spreadsheet then for each recording type? So SLAP2 versus NeuroPixels and so on. So there I'm a bit unsure how one would best do this. And last point would be if we should kind of put out on the website also some standards for the documentation of an analysis, so that it's somehow standardized what if people contributed. There are some certain things that are required, so that we kind of keep track of everything. And one would be standards for sharing the code. So we could, for example, agree that IPython notebooks are very handy to use and share the code, because when it's we have the overview of different parts of the code and so on. We might ask that all the dependencies are declared there. In addition to code, we could have like an analysis summary where people provide an overview of the methods that they employed, key results. For example, the draft of a paper figure or something could go in there, and some optional discussion. And then it would be nice if people could add their analysis to the map and spreadsheet if we want to have it bottom up, essentially. So there one could add the links to code, summary, and slides, and link dependencies in the map. Yes, and then we can add these to the web page. So these guidelines as well as links to the to a map and a spreadsheet. Yeah, this was kind of some ideas how to structure this. I'd say let's just discuss this briefly, how we want to go ahead with organizing these analysis, and yeah, then we can talk a bit more about the content.
Thanks, Lucas. I have a couple of questions. I'm sure others are. I really like this. Well, so first, my experience with projects that are organized is every team's this is essentially a project management tool, right? And there are many like Kanban board, all of those. Um,
Yeah.
my experience is that every project, many project often just looks to explore the tools that they are available, and then they converge to something that everybody like. Okay, and many different opinion there might be in the group, and so like if the Kanban board doesn't speak to a person in the group, it's not useful, right? It needs to be useful to everyone so that it provides value. I really like the analysis map because it it provides a visual and a plan for
Mhm.
everyone to see. And so like for a newcomer, if you tell them like this is our plan, this is what everyone is doing, it's like a really quick way to understand, what's the first order, and then we are in this circle. I feel like building this could be really helpful to onboard people.
Mhm.
Um, the spreadsheet yeah, as you said, is probably complementary. Uh, and there are many ways to do this. I mean, you could link a Kanban board to
Yeah.
that. I mean, GitHub has lots of good tools to track tickets
Yeah.
with metadata and links to code and stuff like that. So this is my intuition so far.
Mhm. Yeah.
Are there any other ideas in the group on this or feedback for Lucas? Or what do you think, Sarah? What is it? Do you have a preference or?
Sorry, I literally just tuned in 30 seconds ago. I have no idea what you guys have been discussing.
Yes, I'll just bring you in. Lucas presented the Excel sheet and the visual map. I assume you knew about this or?
Yeah, we had a chat about this on the forum. So I actually like the idea of a spreadsheet as a combination because the thing is, the visual map is nice to quickly figure out in which branch you are and what you could do, but the spreadsheet would be much easier to track who's working on this, where are they at, where's the link to the code for that specific piece of analysis.
Yeah,
And so I think going back and forth might actually be the easiest way to kind of map the specifics that are going on, but at the same time not lose the overview.
that's right.
So from looking at the preprint, I have to say the analysis that we have are pretty detailed in there. It's just that there's a bit of a disconnect in terms of, each one is a chapter, it's like adaptation versus mismatch or what's in the prediction. And I think if someone doesn't read through the entire analysis section there, then they might get lost. And so this is kind of a visual shortcut version of that. And we can
Sure.
expand upon it, right? It's like what Alex mentioned, like receptive field properties, for instance, haven't been discussed in the preprint at all. But they're part of a sanity check you would anyway want to do. So then we just add it visually on a map here.
That's right. I really like the idea of a visual map to get started. And then, as you said, the Excel sheet is a really important complement to add more details and structure, essentially structure details.
Yeah.
Mm.
And we could
And
also flag visually, we have different iterations of this, right? This can be the conceptual one, but we could just have another one where we just highlight only in color the boxes we're working on and the rest remains gray to just kind of see how we progress through it and where we're at.
yeah,
Because I'm not
Mhm.
sure whether we envisage all these analyses happening simultaneously at all times, right? At the same rate? Probably not.
that's right. But I mean, uh, placing the boxes at the beginning is a really helpful exercise, right? Because as you said, we did not plan certain basic things, and we should, yeah, we should do that ahead of time, right? Like think through, okay, what does it mean to make the data release paper? What does it mean to create this study? And then it will be a lot easier for a lot of the folks that reach out and want to contribute to have that ready.
Mhm.
Any other opinion in the group on this, or?
Yeah, I like this a lot. I think it's very helpful. I mean, for me, getting back to the analysis after a gap, and I suspect there will be for people that are onboarding as well. I have 3 questions, right? So where's the data? Is the code already? And has this been done already, or are people working on that? So I think all of that can be encoded right here.
To some extent, yeah.
Even
Just a
one thing,
question.
go ahead.
I don't know if I missed it or not. The progress report, where should we report? I mean, we should have some kind of platform that we are all reporting there. Everybody's seeing the results and get feedback from all of you guys. For instance, I shared some results on the GitHub from the previous fix. I don't know, all of the people are aware of that or not. This is the case. I don't know. I just wanted to give this feedback to you.
You want to provide more visibility to your pieces, so to get feedback is what you meant?
Yes, all of the people are going to contribute, not only me. I mean, each of us doing the part of it. So
Yes.
we are sharing our results from our own side. So I think having you guys as professional would be really great to also, I mean, just direct us to more better and precise analysis or any other feedbacks generally. This is the other point. I mean, also all of us should have easy access to data, have to do analysis, and also there is output of the people's working, which is the output of the results analysis. So also there would be a structure that you can observe our analysis, give feedbacks on us, so everybody knows what's going on there.
I think in terms of platforms, we have the discussion forum, right? Where I guess it's and the meetings essentially. So
Yes, yeah. I shared there. I mean, I always share my results there, but I
Yeah.
think a few people can notice that. I mean, get notification. Not all of the people. The people contributed on that. I mean, Git discussion can get notification that somebody shared there, or unless they get, I mean, mentioned on the messages. Otherwise, other people going to miss that.
I
Yeah.
think you get an update from the forum, because I saw that you posted data and analysis, as a basic analysis of data. I think the tricky bit is that originally when we used the forum, we kind of went step by step. So we kind of used Alex's code, we did block alignment, we discussed were we happy with it, and then we did orientation tuning. But it's kind of, we went on the forum as we went along deeper into the analysis, we had a conversation. And the example you have is you did a lot of analysis and basically uploaded it in one go. And then I think basically no one had time to go through all of this in depth. And then it kind of just sits there on the forum and might worst case get forgotten because no one has time to go through it. And I think part of this is that we would kind of need to have a more regular back and forth between people doing analysis of some sort, instead of just, having a big chunk and then here, this is what I found. And
Yes,
I
yeah,
kind of hope this kind of analysis map would kind of be easier for identifying people to do something similar like what you have done, and then have kind of chats on the forum more frequently.
So, Sarah, related to what Ali is saying, so the way we've been doing it with Ali is that Ali does that small back and forth with me. And then once I go with him through everything, then I've been telling him, Ali, write a full document and post it. So that was actually a suggestion from me to him, because I did the smaller parts with him and I said that. But I guess Ali is making a bigger point here. It's not just related to his posts. I also miss a lot of things that are posted on GitHub, because not until we submit to individual forums, we won't get notifications. So there are 2 points here. About Ali's thing, we can come up with better ways of doing it. But in general, I guess he's saying that when they post analysis, whether him or someone else, how do they make sure that everyone can get a notification and participate?
So yeah, GitHub has notification built in, so you can
But if we're in the
subscribe.
forums, so when a forum is generated, is created, if we don't specifically subscribe to that forum, then we won't get it.
That's
And
right, but I do I personally get notification when any post is posted on the forum. You can
Yeah,
click at
because
the
you're
top.
the owner of the forum.
but
And
I
whenever
if I only get it if I was aware that a new forum is created and I go and subscribe to that. So I know I have missed a lot of things. I know that.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I'm just, I mean, if we want to use the forum notification system to do this, it's up to us. But I think GitHub does have a reach system to ping people if you want to, if you take attention to it. Let me see if it's helpful, I can show.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree with Faisal. It's just hard to keep track of things. I had also students that asked me about some code, and then it's like, I know we have it on the forum, and then I tried to literally find the thread, where I found Alex's third version of the code, and frankly, I had a hard time.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of something we can maybe consolidate a bit
I
better.
wonder if we can separate the platform where we post analysis from the one that we do discussion. And
Oh.
then, yeah.
I mean, one thing we could do is essentially, I mean, the discussion is from somehow the written form of announcing things, I guess. And what we could do is in the analysis map, I put in a link for also notes. For example, let me share this again. So this is just an example. I guess everyone has their favorite, shareable note-taking thing, but this could be a way where essentially in these notes, then one has more detailed. Essentially, one can go through all the plots or read up on the methods, materials, or a discussion of the results. And then in the post, one would rather like say here we have new results showing this and that, and here's the link to the notes or something. This might be a way to have essentially the notes and code and so on in defined places, and the communication is only about announcing that there has been progress on this part, and then people can check it out. And I mean, there's also the option to link people in the post that you think this might be interesting to. Just so I think in that case, then they for sure get a notification, just as a maybe another thing that might work, to have it a bit targeted towards specific people.
I think, but I agree, Lucas. I want to bounce on what something Sarah said, but even if she's intimately familiar with the process of the project, she still can't find in the flow, because I think the forum was organized by meeting thread, and there are a lot of meetings now. And so you have to remember, oh, which day did this happen, and then and follow, and so that adds up. I see the value in having this visual with links to the division, like if someone is posting an update on a particular block here and provide a link to one of, like, for instance, the note you shared, everyone can have a different place where this is stored, but it needs to be easy to find.
Right.
Right. And so I feel like that might be the component that is missing, right? Is a place where you can find the links to all of the update on the particular block. Is that right?
I think our idea was that the spreadsheet to some extent could do that, but maybe it's not the best place. I'm not sure. Maybe we should separate it, like what Farzaneh said, like a separate one. It's just at some point, if you have to cross-reference 3 other documents, it's also not necessarily making it better, right? It's like, sure you can, but who actually wants to do that.
But in principle, one could have it in the map, right? I mean, there's just a finite number of links that one needs per
Can I
project.
why don't we do it the way that a lot of us do in our own labs, that we do it in Slack, and then we have an analysis, separate channels for individual analysis, and then we post things there. I found the forum, GitHub forum, extremely difficult to follow. I don't get notifications. There are too many of them. Like what Sarah said, I cannot find things. So we can keep the forums if we want for the meetings, and still I would like to know how I can subscribe to everything if there is a way to do it. But my suggestion for the analysis would be to go to Slack and then have channels for separate topics.
I just don't know whether for individuals who don't have a subscription, whether they will lose, information, because that's not going to be maintained for beyond, I don't remember, 3 months or something like that, and then everything just disappears, which might be not ideal.
So if we each use our institute email addresses, do we still have that problem?
I mean,
I mean,
not every institution subscribes to Slack, right? It's a kind of an assumption. I doubt it.
it's a paid subscription service. I think that's what Sarah mentioning.
Yeah, no, that's a valid point. I wonder if there is something like Slack with without this problem. I mean, there is always the old school method of email. I guess people just find it old school.
Emails it has a lot of problems with me because it's a closed system, but does not provide visibility to everyone. The problem with Slack is that my experience is most message end up being direct message. That's what happens is you set up a Slack channel with open channels, and then most of the communication end up in DM, and then which is okay, but you lose visibility on a lot of things. And for groups that is distributed like this, that can create silos. And that's what I like about the forum.
On the forum, right? Or even on the forum, we have that a little bit already, in the sense
That's
that
right.
it's always the same, the usual suspects.
I guess
Yeah.
is at some point one of the two DM reminds the other one that let's bring it to the channel. I don't see any way around that.
Well, I mean, the way we communicate is different than how we track things. These are different problems, right?
Mm.
I feel like what we're trying to do is organize the analysis plan. And clearly what was missing isn't that something that lives on top of the communication channel?
Mhm.
A very naive question, Jerome. How do you do that internally at the Allen Institute, like coordinating analysis teams across different aspects?
Yeah, I wonder if Anna or Ivana are here and they want to speak there. They're on a call, but it might not be in
Hi.
person. Oh, Anna, do you want to speak?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the way that it's a little bit complicated because we have an entire scientific computing department, and oftentimes we have there's like a scientist that has a special interest in whatever the computational question is, and they work really closely with the scientific department and then with the scientific computing department, and then they kind of come back. And so things like and I don't have the technical expertise to maybe talk about what you guys would need, but as far as communication, it often comes through the scientific computing and the individual scientists who have that interest, and then gets dispersed after that. We use Teams heavily. We're all meeting on Teams here today. We use Teams channels to communicate. We often communicate via meetings. We don't utilize Slack. I know many teams are successful in their analysis using GitHub. to store the repositories there, and we also heavily use CodeOcean, which I don't know if we've talked about a lot here. But those are our most common methods within the Allen Institute of creating CodeOcean capsules, most of it being managed by our scientific computing department, and then the individual scientists kind of tweaking what scientific computing puts out for their specific needs. That's how we do it here, if that answers the question.
Maybe
Maybe we can find someone who's a specialist in crowdsourcing. It's like, well, the other side of the spectrum. It sounds like it in a way.
I wanted
How
to,
much is
Ivana, did you want to speaker?
Yeah, sorry, my camera is not working today. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, I think that in terms of tools, it's a matter of start trying. It's a very long discussion if we want to have it. Like there are multiple resources we could use, but like my advice is to start with something and see how people engage with those tools, and we can just then tweak the tools that we are using, right? I don't know, like I'm thinking about alternatives to communication. We can use also, if we don't want to use Slack, we can use WhatsApp or any other free platform for people to communicate more openly. And yeah, for analysis, if the forum is not working, we can try other options and like set a timeline and say, well, during a month, we're going to try this approach. If it's not working, people are not engaging, we can discuss and switch. It usually takes time for people to get engaged with the tool and determine whether it's useful or not for the whole group.
Shubham, you want to allow? Yeah. Do you want to speak or? You made a post. I don't know if you can.
I wonder if Carter also has input here, since he does a lot of our analysis as well.
I guess I don't really have any ideas that haven't already been said.
Yeah.
Can I say something? So, how much is Slack if you want to get the paid subscription so things don't disappear? Two, how is it that we do it on Teams? I don't use Teams for this purpose much, but again, we can start and see how it works. But it seems like we can also create channels on Teams, and that one maybe most people have access to.
I will say that I do think the GitHub form that we have, I think functions very similarly to how we would have a Teams channel where we have the page and then we have the individual threads. So I'm not sure that we can maybe utilize the GitHub board we have a little bit more. As Shubham just suggested, maybe having like a mega thread. But right now the channel does function very similarly to how we would use Teams here.
I guess the difference is that if for me, I have one application of Slack, and then I have all these different workspaces added. So everything is in one place, but I don't really monitor GitHub unless someone mentions me or I subscribe. So that's the difference. But maybe others have engaged more with GitHub. So, and I
mean, I set this up. I want to advocate for it and get your opinion, but I think we could create dedicated threads on the forum with, specific topics of analysis about, receptive field analysis or like, things like that. I know, Farzaneh, you haven't getting notification, but this can be set up. Like GitHub notification system is extremely sophisticated because, it's the whole software engineering community that is using this. And so I'm confident. Yeah.
Do you go to the browser or do you use the app? So maybe you tell us how you've managed to make it part of your everyday change. So you use the app or you just keep going to the browser?
I use the browser most of the time, and I don't use GitHub apps at all. And GitHub has a notification management tool that if you click on your own profile, you can see, and you can subscribe to certain channels, you can subscribe to certain forum, you can subscribe to tickets, whatever you want.
I think it was
And then I
Ivana.
get emails.
Yeah, it's really like what Ivana said. It's a matter of getting used to things. I remember when I came to the island, that was my first introduction to Slack, and the team was quite resistant. Like everyone just wanted to use email. And it was Marina who insisted, and we all got used to it. So now it's like I'm very much used to Slack, and GitHub is new to me. I guess if there is emphasis on keeping using GitHub, we can put effort. But so far, it's been very hard for me.
Okay.
I think in terms of transparency, the GitHub is just a better investment long term, right? Because we can have basically an entire history of what's been done when, by whom. I think that will be the power of having it online, like the way we try to set it up.
So then maybe we continue using it, but then we organize things a bit better, like analysis based. I figure out the notifications.
How do these categories work, or labels? Maybe it would make sense to use those. I mean, you're suggesting that, Jerome, right? That we somehow set up a way to structure these, because now I also just have this list of discussion threads, but if one could select them by topic or something, I guess that would be at some point, as they stack up, might be helpful.
Yeah, we could have groups and Fred in the groups. You can subscribe to the group of Fred. Like, we could do it however we think is best. For me, the most important part was keeping a record of everyone's contribution, because it's really an open project, and I didn't want this to be lost, or depending on a subscription fee.
Yeah.
And so far, GitHub as a company has a good track record of keeping open source stuff. It's still private.
And I think there's even one layer above that, in a sense that, someone who's not involved today still can go on the GitHub tomorrow and can look things up and get involved. And on Slack, you wouldn't be even able to know necessarily that there's this Slack channel out there, or things like you kind of have to know or hearsay that you should join the whatever Slack channel. And so I think in that sense, it's better to have this kind of record there, openly at all times, not hidden between anything.
Sorry, I saw from Lucas' presentation that you prepared some slides as well, or?
Lucas prepared the slides, right?
So for the second block, I guess this would go more than towards content now. I don't know if we want to talk about this today. If we want to talk about the work packages we conclude from the review article, or if we should focus on the data release packages.
But what do you think?
Yeah, in the interest of time, maybe we should focus on the data release, because it's the first thing we would address. So yeah, maybe just let me share the slides again. It's the wrong one. Yeah. So just to conclude this part, so I heard that we continue the GitHub discussions. For now, we tried the map. I will put it in a way that it's editable for everyone, and yeah, you could try out adding your resources there, and maybe give feedback on whether this tool would be working. Same for the spreadsheet. But for the future, maybe we should think about if everyone should just be able to edit it, or if we should somehow have this owned by defined. I don't know. This is a bit open open thing we did not discuss. And then the last partner would be what are analysis required for data release. I would maybe just go through this with the table here. I collected ideas that for example, Jerome was posting, or Sarah, and yeah, it looked like we would need to still do some quality controls, for example, validation of cell extraction, validation of stimuli. But I really don't have good intuition what's missing there. One thing we might want to have is a coherent way of identifying responsive units that would work across recording techniques. I mean, for now, for example, we did it by just looking at the variability and defining a threshold based on the standard deviation, but this is, of course, a very crude way of doing it. So I think for data release, it would be nice to publish how many units are actually responsive per recording technique to the stimuli of interest, and do that with a established method coherently across these recording techniques. Yeah, maybe we should go. We should go point by point. So, is there any feedback on this?
I really like what you're showing here. I would maybe add. It feels to me like some of the last items may be already too deep for data release paper. I don't know what you think. The QC is something we know very well here how to do. And so this is something we could really sort of lead. So if I were, my intuition would be quality control, identification of units, receptor field, and visual tuning analysis might be sufficient for data release paper. I don't know what you think.
I totally agree with this point. The kind of the idea I had was that it might be nice to showcase a bit what one could do with these data, and maybe it's because we have the analysis in principle for some modalities already. It could just showcase, okay, there are really deviant stimuli, for example, the standard oddball. I don't know how one would do it for the other oddball paradigms, but just showing that there are indeed deviant enhancement and redundant suppression. Not a detailed analysis, just to show, okay, we kind of these basic things that we set out to address with this data set. That's something we find across modalities or something. Yeah, but I agree, it's already like a bit going towards proper research paper already.
So I think it just depends on what the goal of the data release paper is, right? So if we want to encourage people to analyze specific aspects achievable, then maybe outlining, that there's a visual motor mismatch paradigm in there, or that there's a standard oddball paradigm in there, could be done with some example traces to illustrate that this is something that could be kind of basically analyzed more in depth.
That's right.
I think it would increase the likelihood of people picking things up, honestly.
Right.
Yeah, we could
have
that as a first order proof of principle. But I think in my mind, a good data release paper is one that doesn't cut the grass of the downstream analysis, so that it can be pushed out quickly, right? Like a really nice package, well documented sessions, and then empowering, many directions without doing it too much. That's right. That's how I see it.
I just personally find it always the bottleneck is then taking that data and then digging into it, which is why there's hundreds of dandy archives out there that, you know, will never be touched, basically. Because that's honestly the most painful step. And so anything you can use to lower the threshold increases the chances that someone will actually work on the data, is my intuition.
That's right. That's right. So
And
the
of
more
course,
work we do, yeah.
so is this sheet somewhere? So if we want to, like, I think Ali was interested in some of these. Maybe he wrote it in his message on his GitHub. So is this sheet somewhere, or did I miss something?
It's I posted a very short term before the meeting. It's in this
Okay.
discussion thread that was linked in the meeting. But if we, I don't know, Joe, what you think? Maybe we should have that on the website, or I will create again a discussion thread also where these two links are visible. So that's exactly the point. That people can add their ideas and we collect ideas with this. Yeah.
Why don't we make this visual map like, because I think you seeded it and I feel like could contribute the data release paper box, you know, like how it would, because we've done this before, and sort of see, just help people visualize what are the dependencies, what are the things that need to be done for a data release paper in the visual map, right? And then you could sort of add your vision of an extension for contextual modulation, you know, like how does it build upon? I think you already started, but and so, and I'm sure Sarah would have other ideas on over directions here, as well as Alex and others. And so I'm happy to start playing with this map. And I guess, do we want to do an Excel sheet that is linked to this, where people can say they want to help with a specific box, as you know, what Farzaneh said, or? Yes,
I
Farzaneh.
have a question. So is this about all the data modalities or only SLAB 2?
Yeah, so that's an open question and a very good one. You're addressing this is how we would do this for analysis that span essentially different things, but here it's meant per recording technique or data set essentially because
It's actually the general questions we outlined in the preprint that are applicable both to electrophysiology and imaging data. It doesn't go to the level of detail where you would talk about, are you extracting an ROI in imaging data or a single unit? It's kind of trying to stay above this.
So then is the idea that there will be a data release paper, one paper for all the 3 2P SLAB 2 IFEs? Or is the idea that each of them will have its own data release paper?
I mean, it's up to us to decide. I thought we could make at least one.
I think makes sense to, because when papers get very heavy, it gets hard to read them. So I don't know. It also depends how figures look like and all of that. But at this point, if I want to guess, one paper per modality makes more sense to me, because they also have
really?
different pre-processing. That said, it might be helpful to compare the three methods for individual analysis. But I guess we'll have to see and wait and see what comes out of the analysis. If they're very different, like similar, like part of it, I guess, is a decision to make as we get feedback from the analysis. But for that spreadsheet that people assign what they want to do, I guess we want to do it separate for each modality.
Sarah?
I have to say, conceptually, for me, the SLAB 2 is distinct from the electrophysiology and imaging data, in the sense that the experimental paradigm differs, right, to a large extent. But I think the whole point of the imaging and the electrophysiology data as presented in the preprint is that you can actually compare, that they complement each other and elevate each other. So I wouldn't necessarily treat them as independent logical units, because in conjunction they're much more powerful than on their own.
Would agree. I would
Hmm.
agree. Plus I'm just sort of I'm just foreseeing the work of putting together 3 papers instead of 1. And uh
Hmm.
I mean, all of you could be involved in shaping these papers, so I feel like it's a shared reward, but
Yeah. But maybe to proceed, it might make sense to do this map once for one modality, and essentially we could copy and paste it more or less for the others. And of course, some boxes will turn light gray or so because they have been addressed in maybe EFIS, but for Opto we have it already or something.
Yeah.
But that we kind of because I guess if we have one single paper, then these kind of basic analyses, they will be applied across modalities to showcase that we can really extract the same things from these different. So we might do it for step 2, for example, right now, and define what we want to have in terms of basic analysis, and then for now it would be essentially copy pasting it just to the others, and then we see what has to be completed in the other modalities.
Okay, so it's 9:58. What's the next steps? I'm okay to prepare something for the Della paper. Sort of present maybe a vision. Sarah, do you have an idea here?
I would just like to note, so, I mean, the schematics that are drawn here currently are not for the SLAP2 experiment. They're actually for the preprint experiment, because you see a lot of visual motor mismatch, things like that, that is not part of the SLAP2 experiment. So I think we should at least make a separate copy to only highlight what's relevant for the SLAP2 data and remove the rest, because otherwise it's quite confusing in terms of experimental design that is just not met, honestly.
I mean, Sarah, SLAP2 initially started with the orientation grading design, right? And then in the last 4 months, we've been collecting the sensory motor cohort on SLAP2.
Ah, okay, then it's fine. Okay, because otherwise it would just be comparing apples and oranges a bit. Because I thought we just had contextual modulation across blocks, which is very interesting, but this is not necessarily something that was part of the original design from the preprint.
Yeah. We couldn't. I don't think we can collect all of the same types of session on SLAP2 because it's a single neuron at a time. But they are overlapping design across all 3 modalities.
Okay, then it makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I think it makes a lot of sense, your proposal. And maybe you could engage with the map here as well to add those ideas here as well, and maybe others can add theirs as well. I don't know. It makes sense.
Yeah, I like Lucas' ideas a lot. I'm also leaning towards just having one paper, because I think that the special thing here is that these are different techniques using the same paradigm. And so I could imagine that that is the highlight, right? So you could even have a figure, like the famous figure where you have 3 dimensions for coverage of brain and brain resolution and temporal resolution, and show how much are we covering with these different techniques for the exact same data. And for that, I think would be very helpful for what Lucas just said. So we make 4 of these sheets for each of these 4 modalities, and then we can slowly fill it out. And that would immediately also give us an overview which of them might need more work, for example, so that we can converge, at least on a pre-processing level.
So then the next step is to make 4 of these,
Is it
Lucas,
4 or
you
is
got
it 3? So
three
we have
of these,
slab,
3 of these,
0 pixels, and the
and
2
slab 2.
photon, right? So
That's right.
it's 3 in
Yeah,
total.
for me also a lot of sense to do one spreadsheet, as I said, per one, and then we see what are the steps, who wants to do what. Yeah.
And then maybe we could color code what will be going into the in the data paper on all of these. And would that be ready next week, or do we need more time?
I think we could have it by next week because it's mainly about which boxes do we want to deactivate in the current design.
And when you say, Jerome, data paper, you're referring to the paper that introduces the data set. That's what you mean. Not
That's
a
right.
paper asks a specific question. This is just basically a survey of characterization of data set.
There are journals that, for instance, a Nature journal called Scientific Data, we've
Yeah.
published there, whose purpose is exactly that,
Okay, so it's
releasing dataset.
a paper, right?
Mm.
Okay.
So maybe the way we could have that is because we have the color is what's there or not there in terms of light or dark gray. Maybe you could adjust the circle for what you think for now belongs to the data release, and then like for example the contextual modulation, we can have that on the boundary or outside, and add everyone adds the packages that they think would need to go in, and maybe we can then discuss it next week at the with one, let's say slab 2. We do it for slab 2, and then we can just copy and paste it for the other modalities and adjust.
Yeah, for instance,
can we now start doing this if we're going to do it on GitHub, but instead of putting things in a meeting notes, because I guess that's one of the main reasons things have been getting lost, because now we're doing things analysis focused. We start doing the organization a bit differently, so it's easier. Like we call it, I don't know, like a data paper, something like that.
Yeah, let's do that. A single page data paper for now.
And this go there. Okay.
Okay. So next week we'll discuss this updated analysis plan figure that we are looking at.
Maybe one more thing we could do until next week is have a little questionnaire to collect everyone's feedback on what they think will be the bare minimum for a strong data release paper in terms of what would we have to analyze as the proof of principle.
Okay. So you want to ask the question, everyone? What, you want to send an email, or you want a forum thread, or what is your idea?
I could make a poll and just send it around so everyone can add, because then at least we have something as a basis for discussion. If there's something, you know, a common denominator, we can discuss if we all agree. And then if there's mismatches, at least we know what is unclear.
Yes, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. In terms of data packaging, I just want to update everyone, but in the last 2 weeks, we've been spending a lot of time on slab 2 packaging. We have 25 sessions that have been reorganized. 12 mice worth of data. It's just gonna go all at once on corrosion in the next few weeks. That was actually a lot of work. And the same is gonna happen on the other modalities.
And Jerome, that Google Sheet that you once shared is gonna be updated so we can always see and consult that one. Okay.
That's right. So it's one of our goals this week is to push everything to corrosion for all three, you know, to catch up, because the experiments are going full steam. And then we'll package an NWB later, but you're gonna have access to the raw data, like the whole raw data directly. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for this discussion. I think this was really helpful.
Yeah.
We are setting important foundations.